Hi everybody, welcome to the Renaissance Builder. Today we're working on more or less a training video. Well, I'm going to say sort of a training video. That would imply I actually know what I'm doing. So we're working on this here 40-ton carrier rooftop unit. It has a unique situation that I know others have had issues with. So I figure why not at this point show what we have found and dig into it, and maybe this will be a solution others can use as well. So without further ado, let's get tearing into this unit. Hi guys, so I want to be clear, this is not my normal build some weird thing and hope it works out all right and is somewhat entertaining kind of video. I am making this video as an actual source of information. I want this to be instructional and helpful. That being said, I am certainly not the end-all be-all of information when it comes to HVAC stuff. Well, for anything for that matter. But point is, if you have worked on these carrier package rooftop units, you know, the 20-ton and up units, and you have had a similar situation and you came up with a different solution, or you are more knowledgeable about what the problem is, by all means, I ask you to put your comment, to respond, send a message, something. The more information we gather about an issue, the better off we are to be able to handle said issue, right? So if you have an idea, if you have a solution, if you have an experience, please, I'm asking you to put it in the comments so that we can all learn from that. And take this video as hopefully somewhat helpful if you run into a similar situation in these kind of rooftops. So that being said, let's get into the video. All right, so like I said, this is a carrier 40-ton rooftop package rooftop unit. It's being used as an air handler with VAVs. The problem that they're having is it's leaking, right? So what you would normally expect from your average rooftop unit, a condensate trap clogs up, or maybe you got schmegma in the pan. In this case, the pan was cleared out as best as possible because, as you'll see, these are very difficult to clean thoroughly all the way back. And the trap was actually replaced. The leak, I'll show you, the telltale of the leak is you come over to this here compartment and you can see, so this is where you would normally put the filters in, right? That panel, you know, blower section, and then filters. And the leak that seems to always be the problem, you can see all the way in the back. You'll see water that runs across this pan. There's another kind of leak where the water literally just falls off the coil. That's almost always airflow issues. But in this case, airflow was good, but we still had water running across the pan, as you can kind of see watermarks here currently. That section over there, that's a good 8 feet distance. So it's pretty much impossible to get to without taking the unit apart. So I'll show you what we found here. So the water was originally running out under here, and then it would drain down and it would catch in here, and you can actually see my little catheter I had as a temporary solution to the dripping until we, you know, could get the job approved. And then it would also run under here, so you can see the water. Now, there's normally your filter tray right here, which covers up a lot of this. And of course, it's all buried underneath, you know, all these parts. So what we're actually going to do, and this is what we've come to find so far. Obviously, there's telltale signs of water sitting in this area here. And there's a little bit over here. You can see the rust. So, you know, that's telltale signs that you have water that's staying there and it's not supposed to. And if you look real careful, you can actually see some schmegma built up there. And if you look in this corner, you can actually see some schmegma built up in there. So at this point, I'm actually predicting we're going to take this panel off and I'll show you what's underneath of it. I'm predicting that there's a lot of dirt buildup under there. Now you can see the coil isn't that dirty. Like this isn't something that you would be like, oh no, like there's dirt on it, but it's not something you'd be like, oh my God, this coil's way too dirty. In reality, it is. These coils are extremely hard to service without taking the unit apart. I'm probably going to try making an adapter to make it easier, but I have learned that it may be a good idea to clean these coils a lot more often than we do. Anyhow, let's get to taking these panels apart and then we'll show you what's underneath. And I think that's where we're going to find our problem. So sure as shit, I'm going to show you here. We took that panel off and there's definitely a lot of schmegma in here. Let me show you. So here's the problem. Right in here, you can see all this gunk. Now, before you go thinking that this is, you know, oh, this is easy and you should have, you know, done this, that, and the other, or that's heavy buildup. Look, this metal piece right here, the edge is right here. So this metal piece goes underneath the coil and it only gives so many slots open. This right here, so the schmegma is building up between two sheets of metal. This one that sits on top and this right here. So there's no way that you can actually get into that to have it cleaned without removing this panel. So that's a thing. Now, we're going to clean this up. I'm going to try taking this panel off. I don't know if it'll actually come off or not, but I'm going to try taking this panel off and let's see where that goes. If that panel comes off, I'll show it again. If not, we're just going to go right into cleaning everything up. So we finished cleaning the evaporator, and it did make a pretty decent difference on the evaporator. So I figure I want to show you what the pan looks like now, and I think we have this. I think this is the solution. So let's take a look at how that crusty area looks now. So you can see down in here how this thing looks now. So it's still a little bit wet, even though it's, you know, we tried to let it dry for over 30 minutes. But the way this would normally work is that the water, this plate supports the evaporator, and they have a little lip here. It's about a 1/4 inch lip that the water would normally have to go up to get out. So the water runs down and it's going to run down here before it runs up here, unless you had all the dirt that was in there. With all the dirt in there, then the water runs down and it decides just to go wherever it can. So yeah, I did think about the possibility of putting a line of silicone or like a rubber gasket around, like right here on the edge. A rubber gasket might work. You definitely have to have the panel here. So if we have this panel sits right in here like this, and now this panel does have to be here. The entire point of this panel is to prevent the air. So it's to prevent the air from bypassing the coil through there, which would do the same thing as like not having a trap. It would keep the water from running down the way it's supposed to. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to use a spacer so that you don't want this actually touching the coil, because then again, it'll give the water somewhere else to run. But we're going to use a spacer to keep it pretty darn close, and then anchor it down in. So that's where we're at. So we did go through here and took a emery cloth, tried to shine it up a little bit. It really didn't make much of a difference, but I think with all that dirt out of there, that may just fix the issue with the water runoff, as well as a clean coil, so the water can run down the coil a lot easier. So there you go. If you have one of these carrier rooftop units that's doing the same thing, then your solution just might be to quote a full day of tearing the unit apart, getting into that evaporator, and thoroughly cleaning that up. Since that panel has to be there, then you have no other option than for that cavity to exist for dirt to build up. I'm going to say that if you're trying to set up a preventive measure for that, you're probably looking at something like a antibacterial coating, kind of like pan tablets, but an antibacterial coating on the evaporator so you don't get the sliminess, but dirt is still going to build up. So maybe if you wash the coil every year, like do an evaporator wash every year, maybe that'll stop it. Certainly would slow it down. But yeah, that's where we're at. So with that, I'm gonna wrap up this video. I think we got the solution. I got to put all this unit back together with Kimber's help here. We'll get it back together, and I think we got this fixed. All right, so that concludes this here video. We did end up finding a pretty good solution for our situation. The coil did end up being dirtier than we initially thought. Not restrictive so much as enough dirt build up on the aluminum fins to cause the water or the condensate to run off differently. So that was the thing. By the time we cleaned it up, it got shinier. And that schmegma that was built up between those two plates. It's literally, you've got the one plate that holds the evaporator on the bottom, and then there's another plate that sits right over top and forms a cavity right in between. So I really can't think of a way to stop the dirt from building up within that cavity. I believe it's just part of the design at this point. However, there are things that you can do. The first recommendation obviously is going to be yearly evaporator cleanings. There's also some chemicals. I don't know how well they work, but there are some sprays that you can use when you're evaporator cleaning that have germicides in them and biocides, things that kill germs and biological elements that would keep it from getting goopy, I guess maybe. So that might help. Pan tabs might help, but they're not going to exist within that little cavity, so not very much. But your best bet's yearly cleanings, like clean them a lot to avoid the dirt buildup in that cavity. Realistically, I've only seen 3 or 4 of these units actually have this problem, and only in really high humidity environments. So I don't think it's something that happens all that often, but I could be wrong. Either way, again, I encourage, if you have a solution or an experience or even just a little bit more knowledge, by all means, please leave a comment so that we can all learn from each other's experiences and provide better services. That's the whole idea of this, and I hope that comes across this way. The entire idea of this video is to share knowledge so that we can all grow and get better together. I'm gonna Barney this pitch. Anyhow, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Please, if you don't mind, leave a like on, hit the thumbs up button on the video, and if you don't mind throwing a subscription in there, I would definitely appreciate that as well. It doesn't cost you anything, and it does help me out quite a bit. Anyhow, thank you very much, guys. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.